Hello and welcome. This is Samantha Hartley of the Profitable Joyful Consulting Podcast. And today I am welcoming a very special guest who is actually partially responsible for the fact that I have a video podcast at all. If you read my newsletter, you'll know that she said two words almost exactly a year ago from the stage of an event where she was keynote speaking, video podcast, and the rest is history. So I would love for you to help me welcome Mari Smith. Often referred to as the Queen of Facebook, Mari Smith is widely known as the premier Facebook marketing expert and a top social media thought leader. Mari is a top keynote speaker, corporate social media strategist, and brand ambassador for numerous leading organizations. She's also an expert webinar leader, live webcast host, and author of The New Relationship Marketing, and co-author of Facebook Marketing An Hour a Day. Welcome, Mari.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samantha. It's a joy to be here, and I am so looking forward to this. As you know, I'm such a fan of your podcast, and I love that you're bringing guests on this particular season.
Yes, we have discussed this in chats on Instagram, the idea of that. So the way I love to open is with you sharing a story. So rather than me saying, what do you do? And you saying, what do you do? How about tell us a story of a client that you've worked with and what kind of process they went through and what wonderful result they got as a result of that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. Well, goodness, I am going to share a story of a brand ambassador client. So really, I got on Facebook in 2007. Prior to that, since 99, 98 even, I was doing online marketing. I've always been fascinated with online marketing. I love people and I love tech. And so social media is like my jam since 2007. But for the, I would say from 2007 through about 2016, my bread and butter was courses, training courses, online courses, and then there's just this whole world of influencer marketing and brand ambassador work that started to really grow. And I had a lot of brands come to me, and then I found I had a lot of similar companies. So one in particular was called Wave.video. And at the time, I was working with a number of other video companies, one called Animoto, love them, great video platform. Adobe actually helped launch Adobe Spark suite of products and the video, online video creation and video creation through apps, mobile apps. And then Wave kind of headhunted me and they showed me, and I always remember I was at Social Media Marketing World, a big conference here in San Diego, pre-COVID, of course. And I could see all the different companies I was working with and they're in my line of sight of the different booths. And then the team from Wave, they're like, here, let us show you. We want to show you what we're working on. And I just like was so excited. I love their interface. And that's number one for me is I have to be passionate to be able to work with a brand. Obviously, it has to be, a great product my audience would resonate with, but most important, it has to be aligned with me, my values, and I have to love the product and have to use it. And so long story short, I started working with Wave as well. And then we shifted to our long-term relationship. For 2 years, I was their exclusive. We went exclusive. And I was their exclusive brand ambassador for a couple of years and drove thousands, actually close to over 7,000 accounts over time. And one moment in particular, I was keynoting at Traffic and Conversion. And I love to very naturally weave in a mention, non-salesy. And they had a booth down the stairs at the convention center, and I'm saying, showing a case study, and then they closed about 30% of the audience by me just mentioning them, and they had this big lineup at their booth. So love doing stuff like that.
That's amazing. I love it. And explain what a brand ambassador does.
Yes, there's a variety of things. So brand ambassador is very similar to an influencer, a spokesperson, a little bit different than affiliate marketer. An affiliate marketer is like, hey, click my link and I'll get paid when you sign up. A brand ambassador is kind of like the mouthpiece or the voice and the face of a particular brand, is driving awareness, right? Kind of the top of the funnel, driving awareness. What I found over the years of being a brand ambassador for so many different corporations and brands is that they're more a little bit more results driven and wanting, like they're I almost have to re-educate them. They want me to just do one campaign is going to drive, enormous amounts of sales. And I'm like, oh, we kind of got to warm everybody up about, and we've got to make sure they understand what the problem is, and then this is the solution, and let me do some educational training, and it's over a series of educational, lives and posts and whatnot. So there's different
But
ways to structure it.
sure. What I think is really interesting is that you're having to teach the clients who are coming to you to do this thing what actually realistic expectations are. So in this case, you have to be more knowledgeable about the thing that they think they're hiring you for than they are.
That is spot on. And then what happens is just, to kind of get, all of us, we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. And so someone goes, well, this is how it works. So we pay you this money and we want to just see how it goes for like this one campaign or 1 month. And I'm like, no, I have a 6 month minimum and this is how it works. And these are the results. And this is what we call the Mari bump, but I can't get you the Mari bump with one tweet,
Yeah, right. I mean, that's amazing. And what I really like about it is I think all of my listeners who are consultants as well, what I want them to hear is to have the courage to educate your client when they have unrealistic expectations and really speak up and advocate for yourself as you're modeling there.
So true. So true.
One thing I want to, I mean, I heard you speak, I think it was over 10 years ago, very early in social media in general, in my awareness of social media. And I'm a very private person. And so when social media first came out, I was like, I don't really feel the need to share anything on social media. And it was a big learning curve for me. And one of the things that you said at your keynote that was so impactful for me was the difference between personal and private. And
Yes.
what I'd love for you to do is unpack that as it relates to consultants building their business brand on social media.
I love this. Building your business brand. I mean, no matter what, everybody has a brand. If you're a solopreneur, I mean, the brand is you, even if it's called a different name. But if it's you, it's your voice, it's your face. We're often on video these days. So everything you do online pertains to your brand. It's a component of it. And so that distinction that I made all those years ago, I'd say these three categories of life experience: public, private, and personal and private. So for example, in Facebook, it's called a personal profile, and they want us to share personal updates. And it's usually around family, kids, pets, hobbies, travel. Those are top five that people love to see in their news feeds. Who doesn't like a cat video? No. Vacation pictures. But where the line gets drawn for me is I have this 3-part filter. Like before I ever hit that publish or that update or that send or that share button, this including for text, for emails, for private messages, I say to myself, would I be comfortable with this found in a Google search in years to come? Would I be comfortable with this blown up in major font on a billboard? And would I be proud for my own mom to see this? And if I can't answer a resounding yes to all three, it doesn't go anywhere. And like you, Samantha, there's aspects of my life I'm very private about, and nobody knows about them because they're private. And I just don't talk, like relationships, private, personal. Like I did get divorced in 2009, and after I was all on the other side of it, I wrote up a big blog post about it because I saw people kept asking me, and I was traveling around in an RV at the time, and they'd be like, "Where are you guys now?" And I'd almost say, "Well, I haven't seen them in 6 months." So it's like I wanted to be responsible and having people understand what I was going through. But other than that, I was like single for 6 years, and nobody ever knew. Nobody knew, was I dating anyone, was in a relationship, was I married, whatever. And so that's just private to me. And I think that you have permission. You don't have to live in a glass bowl and share everything, because I think what happens is some people don't even understand like the etiquette, if you will, or the best practices. If you like overshare, and even if it's to friends only, and people don't know you that well, and they see that one post and it's like out of context, and so now they're making opinions about you, and they were maybe thinking about referring you someone, but then they changed their mind because they saw this weird post.
Yes, I've seen it a lot. I've seen things on people's about pages, and definitely things on social media. And you and I share the same beliefs around politics and religion. There's no place for that on social media, in my from a
Yeah.
professional standpoint. Well,
Yeah.
there is a place for it if that's part of your brand.
Yes.
So I think that's an important thing a distinction to make. But what about for? Um, it's important though for individual brands to share a little bit of personal stuff, right? That is
Yeah.
very endearing to people. It,
Yeah.
it, it builds affinity for the brand. So you kind of listed the areas that are acceptable. Help people to kind of figure out what kind of things those can be.
Sure. So I like to think of a ratio. So my personal profile, I'm going to share about 80% personal and 20% business. On my business page, flip the ratio, 80% business, 20% personal. But really, actually, probably my business page, my fan page is like 100% business. I don't really share a lot, but I fuse my personality and my quirkiness or my humor or whatever it might be, especially when I'm doing my lives. And I always integrate my values, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what I'm sharing. I'm very inclusive. I'm empath. I show empathy for my audience members. I try to be fair and focus on relationships. But when it comes to your personal profile, I try to be, I'm always strategic too. I always remember, I just reminded myself of something like, I don't know, a decade ago. Someone was analyzing my tweets. This was on Twitter. And I've been on Twitter almost as long. And they were like, Mari, I figured out your ratio. I was looking through all your tweets, and yeah, whatever the ratio is, like, you're like 52% personal and 48 business, whatever this ratio. And I'm like, no, you got it wrong. Because here's the thing. This is so important for your listeners to know, Samantha, that I am always 100% business, even when I'm sharing that 80% personal on my personal profile, because I have chosen to have my personal Facebook profile open to public. I practically everything I publish is public. I have over 300,000 followers who see my public posts anyway, or could see them. And so everything I post, even if it's the other day, a picture of my pomegranate or a beautiful sunset or whatever it is, because I know I've got my friends on there, people I went to school with, my mom, my sisters, clients, past clients, new clients, people that might refer me. It's such a mix. And I try not to kind of alienate my friends and family that are always talking about, oh, here's my next Facebook course, and flip it around. I try not to get too, here's whatever, just something that other people might not find that interesting. So I just think little snippets of what your hobbies are always a great thing to share about. Family, if you're comfortable, pets, nature, travel, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I love that, and I think you and I reconnected because of you saw one of my foraging posts because I do a lot of walking around in
Yes,
nature.
I
So
love those.
it's me and wild berries apparently. What I think I hear that is so important is being intentional about it, no matter what you're doing. And I always say that the opposite of
Yes.
intentional is accidental. So I'm never accidentally posting something. And I love your kind of your filters for, is it okay if my mom sees this? A Google search
Google
finds it.
search,
Uh,
billboard. Yeah.
that to me is this intentionally building the brand? And there's a certain artifice in that. There's this but I feel like it is more authentic to intentionally build your brand that it is to accidentally build your brand.
Well, you're absolutely right. Because the thing is that I think what people don't realize is that your brand is the experience that people have when they come in contact with your branding. And your branding is things like your font, and your logo, and your colors, and of course your website and your social posts and all that stuff. But it's experience they have. So, like, I wanted to always reflect my values. Is that people know, like, they feel uplifted whenever they see anything, my stories or my lives or my emails, and they get a little kind of like, oh, little burst of sunshine. There's Mari. She's got my back. There's some crazy thing happening on Facebook. She's going to break it down for me and help me understand it. And so, likewise, aspects of like one of the things I do is on Instagram, I tend to share a little bit more stories. I originate them from Instagram, and then I just cross post them to my business page. Invariably, they're probably a little more suited for my personal profile, But that's a big part. Actually, I just realized, of course, duh, that ratio I was talking to you about where the 80-20, the personal posts come through stories. I don't really put them on my wall, but and that will look like just what I'm up to. I'm out for a walk by the lake, or here's my fruit in my garden, or some just thoughts. Or I like to just pepper a little bit, like I like Joe Dispenza's work, or something from the Dalai Lama or Sadhguru, and I put those out. Just my little tidbits of spiritual or upbeat, positive, motivational things will come out through my stories.
And it's beautiful. I think that's part of what I really
Yeah.
enjoy. I watch it both as a fan of yours and follower, and also as someone who is, studying the process. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Mari, is that I feel because consultants are so much more on LinkedIn than they are on Facebook. I know that there's a lot of people who are leaving
Yeah,
Facebook and are conflicted about just doing anything that's associated with
true.
Facebook. And as somebody whose brand is like, queen of Facebook, how have you dealt with the kind of the allegations around them and all of the brouhaha around them in general?
Well, the volume's getting louder right now. There is no question that, I mean, I study the news as it pertains to Facebook on a pretty much daily basis. I'm looking to see, okay, what's being talked about? What are the new features? Where is there a change that directly impacts the business owner? That's my filter always.
Mhm.
And I have to dig deep these days to find to get past all of the political stuff and of the just Zuckerberg's approach to how Facebook is run, and I think that it's gotten a little more challenging. However, for me, the most important thing is I'm always like integrity is my number one value, personal and business. So I'm going to be integrity with myself. And that is that I am focused on what is here in this vehicle, this platform called Facebook, that is useful for the business person to reach their audience, whether consumers or businesses. And how can I help them? Everything else outside of that is just noise. And I don't mean to downplay all of the shenanigans, as I call them, and even like with the antitrust and will they get broken up? Well, regulation, I'm sure that regulation is coming, just like television got regulated, right? And newspapers. Eventually, social media will have some pretty strong regulations. Facebook might be broken up. WhatsApp and Instagram, they might be forced to break them off. We'll see. But for the time being, I just stay true to myself and true to my values that I'm here to help you make the most of what Facebook offers businesses. Everything else, I can't. I mean, I literally just before our interview here, I was doing a Facebook Live and I saw in the comments of somebody's asking me to make a comment. I'm like, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And I'm like, I can't, I won't. I brought it up. I said to them, I am not going to answer your question.
Yeah.
I have thoughts and opinions on it privately, not going to share them.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think what's
But
really
actually,
helpful.
one more thing, because I
Uh-huh.
remember, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When we had our chat the other day, we were talking about this interview. Um, the one thing I thought was interesting that popped up around this particular topic here was that for years and years and years, people have always thought that if Facebook went away tomorrow, Mari would be out of a job. And I think that looking forward in the future, I have full intention of continuing to build and capitalize on what I've built for 13 years. At the same time, there's so much more to what I can do and do offer my clients.
Well,
Social
and
media
say more
marketing,
about that,
relationship
because
marketing.
I think it'd be super interesting for our audience to hear. You're a consultant as well. Like, what
Yeah.
what what all do you offer?
Well, I certainly so relationship marketing is my jam. That's what I'm going to do probably till the cows come home. And so the platform is almost like it's secondary or even tertiary.
Sure.
So relationship marketing has been around forever as a term that was coined, I think, around the 70s and popularized in the 90s. I wrote the book on it a decade ago. And so it's about people building relationships with people. And I don't often use the acronyms B2B or B2C because to me, it's all P2P, which is people to people, or some people say H to H, human to human. And um, you get to choose the vehicle for you. If it's LinkedIn, if it's podcasting, if it's blogging, if it's public speaking, you get to choose your medium through which you reach people. For me, it just happens to be Facebook, but it's also, I will obviously talk about the whole Facebook family of apps, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Instagram as well. But more importantly, it's like this cohesive strategy. And I think people have thought over the years, if you just, press a few buttons, then Facebook's like an ATM machine and just gives you all this money.
Good luck.
Right. But it's a journey. So sometimes in the consulting that myself and my partner Christopher do is that we almost have to start with the basics, like defining the avatar and getting clear on the goals and helping them understand what their cost of customer acquisition is. They didn't even thought about these numbers, or, cost per leads, or lifetime value of a client. People have no idea. And so helping them, those are basics. Those have nothing to do with Facebook.
Right. They transcend the social medium. Well, that's what I've always thought is you speak in terms of principles that should be, applicable to whatever social medium. And as all of us have always said, you better not rely on any social medium. You always want to bring them back to something you own, a property that you own, or else some regulation comes or who knows what happens, and then you're out of a business. So, besides, I know you do brand ambassador things, and you do, you teach a lot through Facebook. So what exactly are the revenue streams in your business?
I have four, and they kind of sometimes change up a bit over the years in terms of what's, first, second, or third. So public speaking, absolutely love to speak. I do keynotes all over the world and breakout sessions and workshops, and I've been doing that for 20 years, and obviously only 13 with Facebook as a subject. But now, because of COVID, I've really found that the demand is actually doing even more speaking now through virtual. And I'm loving the creativity with some of these major brands that are bringing in like whole walls of Zoom faces and are doing a broadcast from a studio, but it's still, the whole thing is virtual with the audience. So speaking for sure, my brand ambassador work, which we talked about earlier, training courses, which used to be like the number one source of income, is probably about number 3 and 2 or 3, it oscillates. And then actual consulting. I'm very, very, very particular about my consulting because I don't enjoy one-on-one with a small business owner as much as like my partner does. That's his sweet spot. So we offer it, but he fulfills. I love one-to-many. I love teaching. And so when I do consulting, it will be with a corporate team. I do a lot, for instance, in the direct sales industry. I do a lot in the insurance and banking and finance arenas, a lot with SaaS companies. And so helping them with their overall strategy. So that's my 4 buckets: speaking, brand ambassador, training courses, and consulting.
I love it. That's awesome. And I really love that your joy and genius zone, your partner's joy and genius zone, and that you're able to, as a company, you're able to offer something that fits various audiences, but you don't have to fulfill the things that you don't love to do. And he gets to. So how do your clients find you?
Well, I would say Facebook. So Facebook for sure, Twitter a little bit, LinkedIn definitely, Instagram, my email list, word of mouth, speaking engagements. And what's interesting, for example, Samantha, we just had a speaking inquiry come through my website. They filled out the form, and I could tell. And the guy followed up. My assistant replied with our usual reply, my rates. And he followed up with a voicemail, and he totally pronounced my name wrong. He tried 2 times, called me Mary and then Marie, and he knew it. He's like, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. So I knew this is somebody who's from a bureau. And so some of it comes through a bureau, some of it doesn't direct. But I thought it was really fun. I thought, wow, so here's a brand new person. He's obviously not familiar with me. He doesn't follow me anywhere, but he found my website, or somebody referred him to me, or just did a Google search. So I always think that's interesting. So I never assume, for instance, your question, how do people find me? Huge variety of ways, social being the top. And yet when people do come to me, I don't always assume that they've been following me for years and know who I am or what I do. Equally, the flip of that, I've had people, I'm not kidding, be on my email list for 3 years, 2, 3, 4 years. And then they see a course that I'm offering. They're like, Mari, I finally decided to buy one of your courses,
Yeah, I've had that happen. It's why I think such an advocate for email marketing because it's like divine timing. It's like when the time is right, they will do it. And people have sat on my list for years. And then suddenly one day, and I'll be like, well, that is really interesting because they signed up when my brand was very different. So it's taken a
That's true.
while.
Yeah, you never know.
One of my favorite things that you do are the trends and predictions and things that you share. And obviously video podcast was one from last year. And what I loved about that one was it was combining two things that I'd been avoiding. So I thought I could put them together and make the most of it. But I did really have an epiphany when you shared that. And you are so on top of the things that are happening in this field. What kind of things do you see really as like in the near to fairly near to midterm?
Fairly near to midterm. Video really is still top of my list, and I'll tell you why. Numerous times in the Facebook earnings calls, Mark Zuckerberg has directly called out YouTube as his biggest competitor when it comes to videos, right? So not a competing social network. YouTube is Google. They've just never quite managed to get the social network part down. But certainly when you think about how to learn how to do a subject, the number one place people go to is YouTube.
Yep.
Filled with just so many videos. And they have great search, of course, because it's baked into Google. Since Google bought YouTube however long ago. The main thing I want to say with Facebook video in the future, near and to long term, is that Mark Zuckerberg is absolutely determined to be the next generation digital streaming television, right up there competing with Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime TV, Netflix, Hulu, certainly YouTube. So there's massive money to be made in the new TV ads, which is digital streaming, some subscription, some not. And so you can see with Facebook and their watch platform, they've struggled to like really make it grow. They have, I believe the last I saw that like 1 billion people are watching videos through the watch platform. And they have shows like Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith and their mother and her daughter. They just launched the franchise Latinx version. It's the Gloria Estefan. I think it's her niece and her daughter. So Red Table Talk for Latinas. So coupled with the portal, which is Facebook's in-home video chat device, which you can also hook up to your TV and you can stream and you can get with friends and watch things. They also want us to do series. That's a big aspect of it, is to create seasons like you do with your podcast, and to create episodes, or they call them series. So video, no question. If you're not doing video on Facebook, 2021 you're going to need to double down on video. Shopping, I want to mention too, in terms of trends and predictions, is that shopping while live is coming. So think QVC, HSN meets, Facebook live streaming. So that's going to be so cool. I've seen it tested. It was tested 3 years ago, and then that team kind of went by the wayside, but it's coming back soon. So imagine streaming desktop or phone, Instagram or Facebook, and you've got your shop set up. This is primarily for products for e-commerce, but they're also working on service-based businesses and information products. And so your viewer is watching this experience, and the picture floating player will continue to play while they're selecting the size, color, shape, how many, check out, buy, make the purchase. All the while, it's like just watching TV and making the purchase. So cool. So cool.
Great. Very interesting.
And then the third one is really groups. And Facebook's been doubling down on groups for the longest time. They just had a bunch of new features rolled out for groups, which is pretty exciting. They're making public groups even more public. They're going to be sharing posts as an experiment. If you're in a public group or you run a public group, your post could show up in a Google search, for example, and in the feed everywhere.
That's crazy. That seems very, very unexpected.
It is a little. I mean, they're pretty public anyway. Yeah, you will see. I personally, I was just posting on it the other day on my page about it. I have any public groups, and I'm going to go through and vet my own groups to see if I want to leave some public groups.
Yeah.
I
remember one time I posted in a group that I didn't realize was public, and friends liked that post. And I was like, I don't know that I wanted that to be public. So it's also probably why I won't have any of those devices that you're talking about in the home.
Same here. there.
portal.
I
It's
know.
a little big, but I think the possibilities, I think the shopping is a great idea for Facebook Lives and info products. And I know people have been selling trainings that way for a long time, but inelegantly, you know, with kind of like in the chat
Yeah.
and things like that. And so what you're talking about sounds very, very exciting. Mari,
Yeah.
would you share I'm in your group, Social Scoop group.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would that be the best place for people to go to learn more about you?
Yeah, because I was thinking about this. I do have courses. I'm kind of in between. I'm working on a new mastermind. So that's the first place I do my announcements is my social scoop group. And when they join that, they'll also go ahead and they have the option to pop their email in there and be on my social scoop email newsletter as well.
Oh, fabulous. They definitely should. So I love your group. It's super active. I love that you have your participants are asking questions and your Facebook Lives. You know, one of the things I really encourage people to watch your Facebook Lives because you're so comfortable on them, which of course you are. But what I really admire is there's this, you'll be quiet for a little while. You're reading chat and you'll teach something and say something and then you respond to people. And I really think you're modeling for us just a kind of peaceful energy with a Facebook Live. I think I'm used to a lot of times for people who are like really hyping it up and charging up that energy and being a little crazy when they're doing a Facebook Live. And I just really like the energy of yours because we're learning. There's this sense of engagement of people involved in it, but it's not crazy. So it's a very beneficial group. I'm already learning a lot, and both in terms of what you are teaching and also how you are modeling how you are being.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that very much. And there is an energy transfer that happens, and usually the camera actually dials the energy down. And I know, like, also you'll see public speakers do this on stage where you have to really amp up your energy, and that is a good thing to amp up your energy on stage or in front of the camera. But it's also okay to be, kind of undulate a little bit and just be comfortably being you, and it takes practice. I was incredibly shy as a child. I grew up just shy, couldn't stand speaking in front of the class. And practice, 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 right?
Yes, definitely. I can't even believe it. No, you're very natural, and and you're very cheerful. And I am a follower of cheerful brands, optimistic
Yay.
brands. You know, things can be good.
Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. Mari, thank you so much for your time and wisdom and sharing all that you've shared with us. I really, really appreciate your honesty around things like Facebook. It really helps, I think, all of us who are struggling on a day-to-day basis to put our brands out there, to be associated with brands, and to grow our business using this very public medium.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get video updates. Thanks.